Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Learn British English Free on YouTube. My name is Chris. In this lesson or presentation, we're going back to a familiar theme from many years ago to do with differences in vocabulary between British English and American English. First, I must say a big thank you to my colleague Ian Gloria for lots of support and help. Also for the suggestion of this video because we're going to look at the etymology of the differences between some pairs of words. The etymology means the history, the origin of the words, and why are they different. I've chosen 4 pairs of words which commonly come up as being quite famous differences between the two countries. If you need some help, please look in the description below the video. I've written some brief notes there, and you can use the English subtitles or captions on the screen on YouTube to help you too. Let's make a start then. And the first pair of words that I want to discuss are to do with parts of a car. It's at the back of the car that we use for storage for different elements, and we can see the words here now. British people say car boot. Americans call it the car trunk. We can also say boot or trunk. That's normal too. Let me show you a picture quickly to be clear about what we're talking about. In terms of the etymology of boot or trunk, why is it different? It goes back to a long time ago when people first started using cars more than 100 years ago. And in Britain, it was very common that people would keep or store boots in the back of the car. And in the US, they would put trunks in there, which are large suitcases. Therefore, the name of the part of the car actually comes from the items that used to be stored there. In the UK, we can call it the boot of the car. In the US, we can call it the trunk. Next, let's talk about pavement or sidewalk. I have another photo to show you, again, so we can be clear. In the UK, we call that a pavement. People, pedestrians walk on it at the side of the road. Why is it called a pavement? Of course, it comes from the French language many hundreds of years ago. At least that's what my research has told me. So pavement comes from a similar French word. The US word sidewalk is very literal because you walk by the side of the road. So sidewalk. This pair of words is very important to understand the difference of, especially if you're talking to me or my countrymen in the UK. Do we wear trousers or pants? Let's look at a photo so we know exactly what I mean. In the UK, we call them trousers. And from what I understand, this probably comes from an old Celtic word. Celtic is an ancient language from the UK. I'm not completely sure about it, but it seems that the research suggests that trousers comes from an old Celtic word. Pants is used in the US to describe those items, and pants comes from pantaloons, which were the clothes similar to trousers many hundreds of years ago. They were a lot bigger or baggier. Pantaloons was the original item of clothing that Americans take that shortened word from. I should note, of course, that we do use pants as a common word here, but it refers to underwear. So please be clear about that if you come to the UK, and you should talk about trousers if you mean trousers here to avoid any embarrassing misunderstandings. The final pair that I wanted to discuss is extremely important in the UK, especially talking to people like me because it's our national sport, and many of us, like me, love our football. We can see the footballs at the bottom here. This is one of the most common things that people get confused about. And because it's our national sport, it's very important to a lot of British people that we call it football here. But many people know the very common word in the US, which is soccer. The origin or etymology of this is a little bit complicated. About 150 years ago in the UK, people played rugby more. It was called rugby football. And then some people changed some rules. So the original sport of rugby or rugby football became only rugby. Then there was a new term that was developed, which was association football. And in Britain, the new name for the sport, association football, became only football. But in the US and some other countries, they changed the name to association and it was shortened to soccer. Now, it started in the UK, apparently, but we didn't use the word here very much. However, it became very famous in the US and other countries. That's why it's called soccer there. Even though it came from the UK, we only use the word football to describe this sport, whereas in the US, they probably only use soccer. However, as I said again, if you come to the UK, please remember to call it football if you're talking about it. British people definitely prefer that. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks again to Gloria for the suggestion. I wanted to add that this is based on research that I've done, and I've tried my best, but some of the origins aren't so clear. It often happens with English and other languages that it's hard for people to know exactly where the words come from. I presented this and I've tried my best to present the truth as I can find it. I had to do quite a lot of research myself to produce this lesson, so it's interesting. Thank you for your time. I hope it was interesting for you too. I will be back next week to discuss the popular psychological concept of MBTI, the 16 categories to describe people's personalities. So please subscribe or join me then, and I'll publish some shorts as well in the meantime. Do let me know your thoughts or comments about this. Do you have any questions? Are there other words that you're interested about? You can tell me, and I'll try to help you in the future. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye for now, and I will see you in the next lesson.